Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loga Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vatarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Matyamam Aspatacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veta Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukaro Anthakaro Vairukarastan Nivartakaha Anthakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Mrityave Brahma Vidya Acharyaya Nachiketase Namaha. So, shloka number 21. Kaṭha Upaniṣad, first chapter, second session, second part, and 21st shloka. I will read the slogan, I will read the verse, and we will see the meaning of the whole verse. Asino duram prachati shayano yati sarvataha kastam matamatam devam matanyo jnatumarhati. Once more I will read. Asino duram prachati shayano yati sarvataha kastam matamatam devam matanyo jnatumarhati. We are studying the ultimate knowledge which are presented in the last portion of Vedas. And among the four Vedas, Yajurveda, and in Yajurveda, there are two sessions, Shukla Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda. And in Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda, the topic Kaṭha Upaniṣad is presented. And Kaṭha Upaniṣad is a conversation, dialogue between Lord Death and a 5-year-old young boy. And we know whole story up to this, and it's available. The classes are available in the YouTube now, whatever we have gone through. If I start to say the summary of the last session, that itself will eat up all our time. So I am not going to introduce the summary or anything, whatever we have gone through. So suppose the listener who are students who have missed the classes, sometimes they can go through the YouTube. The address of the YouTube will be available in our screen, in every classes. I will tell them to put the address of the YouTube screen where you have to go, which website and everything. Anyway, we are now in the 21st verse of the second part of the first chapter of the Kaṭha Upaniṣad. Lord Yama is unfolding the ultimate knowledge to Nachiketas. And the sentences seems to be very much confusing or contradictory for a beginner. But for a person who have listened, who have some exposure towards Vedanta, it seems to be very interesting and beautiful. And also, one needs to focus and concentrate more and more to the verses, to the meaning which we are going through. Suppose if you understand for the first time while you are listening, doesn't matter. Again and again, we are repeating at least 3 or 4 times the same session, and only we are going to the new session. So, in this 21st shlokan, here Lord Yama says to Nachiketas, this entity which is all pervasive, the truth which is pervading in the entire universe, that is one. We call it creator, but the truth is the creator itself became the created. So there is no difference between the creator and the created. This truth, this ultimate secret, keeping in your mind, please listen all the meaning of the verses. The creator and the created are one. There is only seemingly difference between them. They are one and the same from the ultimate standpoint. This is the real secret to be keep inside the mind whenever you go through the meanings of the verses of Vedanta. Here, the first sentence says that Asinaha Duram Prajati. Two different qualities or two contradictory characteristics are being told in one entity. Asinaha means staying quiet, stationary, motionless, or resting. Staying in one place, asinaha. From this only, the word udasinaha also came in Sanskrit. Ud prefix is added to asinaha, then it will become udasinaha. Totally motionless due to knowledge or due to lazy. Both type of motionless are there in this world. A person can be fear of a creature due to the knowledge of the creature or due to the ignorance of the creature. In both ways, a person can be motionless towards a creature. He don't show the fear towards the creature. Suppose if you don't know about a creature right in front of you, you will not fear at all. Suppose you have all kind of knowledge towards a creature which is right in front of you, you will not show the fear towards anybody. Even though that creature may be fearsome or having some venom or having some poison, but you don't have the idea, you may not show your fear. So, udasinaha, the word I will first mention you, because this word appears in Upanishads also, in Bhagavad Gita also. It is a name attributed to the wise. A person who is equipped with this Vedantic knowledge is also called Udasina. Of course, this word is also used to point out a person who is staying back without doing anything due to laziness also. But mostly the word udasinaha will be used in order to point out a wise person. Here, we don't need the whole word udasinaha, asinaha. And the meaning of the asinaha word is motionless, stationary, resting completely in one place, staying back in one place is called asinaha. No problem. We understood the meaning. Now comes the problem. Duram brajati. What is meant by Duram brajati? Traveling long distance. Both are actually opposite characteristics. Remember, asinaha means motionless. Asinaha means resting in a place. Asinaha can be stationary. All are one and the same. Staying back in one particular place without having any motion. Asinaha. Then Duram Vrajati in Sanskrit, traveling or involved in a big motion. Duram, far, distance. Vrajati, traveling to a far, going to a far, going to far, traveling to a big distance. Both words are completely opposite characteristics. Asinaha, staying in one place, resting in one place. Motionless entity travels long distance. Something very, very confusing while listening for the first time. Two opposite characteristics cannot be there in one same entity. If I am talking to you, you cannot say you are staying quiet, because while talking to you, I cannot stay quiet without opening the mouth. I cannot enjoy the maunam when I am talking to you. I cannot enjoy the silence while I am talking to you, because both are opposite characteristics or opposite qualities. I am silence. If I say like this, while talking, I cannot be silent myself. So silence and noise are different qualities. Similarly, staying in one place and traveling to a distance or distance, both are different qualities. By staying in one place without having any motion, asinaha, in Sanskrit, motionless is called asinaha. Bring the word entity. An entity which is motionless travels far. Duram brajati, going to a far distance. How can we understand two different qualities existing in one single entity? It must be confusing while you listen these words of this Upanishad. Nothing wrong on that. Come to the 20th sloka, the previous sloka, Upanishad already mentioned another confusing sentence which we have gone through. Anoho aniyan mahato mahiyan. That sentence also shows what is that meaning of the sentence which we have studied in the last session. Something which is smaller than the smallest, subtle than the subtler. Mahato mahiyan, something big than the biggest, great than the greatest. How can be two different qualities exist in one single entity? I already mentioned you. When one single entity is all pervasive in each and everything, all pervasive, sarva vyapi in Sanskrit, it is everywhere. Something is everywhere, and it includes the small ant, the small atom, the small particle, each and every cells of the body, everywhere it is present. At the same time, the biggest things in the world, like stars, planets, some other bigger things which we can't see beyond our senses. Assume all these things also being pervaded by this single entity. The one and only truth pervading from the particles, from the cells to the topmost thing, which can be stars, it can be planets, it can be anything. Whatever we come through the Milky Way in this world. So this sentence is almost clear. From the tiny thing to the biggest thing, it is pervaded. To convey this idea, Upanishad presents it is smaller than the smallest. It is bigger than the biggest. That's all. Simply, I have explained in the last session itself. Now also, I am going to give another example, which will be very easy to understand this sentence. Keep the Upanishad sentence inside your mind. What is that sentence? Asinaha duram vrajati. By motionless, this entity travels so far. This is the meaning. By motionless, by resting itself, without moving anywhere, this entity travels so far. So, two contradictory, limiting, conditional adjuncts staying in one single entity. One single entity staying in one place, at the same time it travels to a long distance. How can we understand this? I will give an example first. Then through the example, we will grasp the real meaning of the sentence. Everybody knows crystal. In Sanskrit, it is called spatik, spatikam, crystal. Crystal is colorless. We know that. There is no color for crystal. By nature, it appears colorless, the crystal. Of course, it has some spiritual properties, they say. And we believe that. That is why crystal mala is being used by sadhus and sadhakas. Spiritual seekers used to wear crystal mala. The beads, 108 beads, are arranged in one single thread and it forms a mala. That mala is used for doing japa or for any other purpose in your life. You can wear that mala and you can invoke the Lord's strength on that mala. I want that crystal to show the example for you. Crystal is formless, colorless. We know that. It's available in bigger bead also, smaller bead also. It's also available in stone. It's also available in the form of a turtle. It's also available in the form of a globe. It's also available in the form of Shivalinga for the sake of puja. Spatiga Linkam is available. Shankaracharya, Adi Shankara Bhagavat Padar used to do the pujas in Spatiga Linkam. Even we can see in each and every matha, Spatika Linga is used for the worship. So, Spatika, the crystal, is colorless. We keep a hibiscus flower behind that crystal. A big globe of crystal which is colorless, we keep in the table. And behind the crystal, we keep a hibiscus flower which is in very red in color. The crystal, even though colorless by natural, we keep a hibiscus flower behind the crystal, and we go a little bit far away from the crystal and look at the crystal. The crystal appears to be red in color. We already kept a hibiscus flower behind the crystal, and we go a little bit far from the table where the crystal is kept. And we look at the crystal right now. Because of the presence of the hibiscus flower behind the crystal appears in the form in the red color. So we make one statement. The colorless appears in red color. Both qualities are contradictory. They cannot stay together. Still, we make a statement. The colorless appears in red in color. Here, the colorless crystal. The crystal is not given in the sentence. Just we make the sentence, the colorless appears in red in color. Means what? Even though by natural the crystal is colorless, devoid of any color, when we keep the hibiscus flower behind the crystal appears to be red in color. The same way you have to take this sentence. How? The all-pervasive entity, which is devoid of all names and forms, something doesn't have any name or form, which is in the form of Mars consciousness, which is in the form of consciousness, which is all pervasive. Everywhere it is available, and there is no place where this is not there. Everywhere it is there. It is pervaded everywhere, and it's there without having any motion. Motion can only be possible when you are conditional, when you are limited. And motion can be only possible from a place where you are present to a place where you are not present. Then only motion is possible. Remember, when you say, I am traveling to India, it means that you are present right now in UK, or you are present right now in United States, and you are not presented in India, you are not available in India, and you are just traveling from United States or UK to India. That means from where you are already present and from a place where you are not there, you are traveling to that place. That means motion can be only possible from a place where you are already there to a place where you are not there. Remember, it should be very clear. Logically, I am saying all the things. Now, the all-pervasive entity which is devoid of names and forms. And all these names and forms are just superimposed on this formless entity. I will again say the same statement for the sake of understanding, for the beginners, for the alternative listeners. I want you to listen every week without having any compromise. I am asking you only 1 hour in your week. And it is the only thing which you are going to take even after leaving this body. This knowledge is going to come along with you. All other properties you are going to leave here while you are departing this body. But this knowledge about yourself, you are going to carry in your life, wherever you go. That is why Kaṭha Upaniṣad itself, I started as an online teaching, because Kaṭha Upaniṣad is an instruction from the Lord Death itself. And he says, even though it seems to be a contradictory statement, there is no contradiction at all. Like I told you, a colorless crystal appears in a red in color because of the presence of the hibiscus flower behind the crystal. Similarly, a formless entity which is devoid of name and form, when get superimposed by the different names and forms, it seems to be traveling, because any name and form is limited. It is not all pervasive. Wherever there is a form, it is conditioned. It cannot be all pervasive. Any name and form is subject to stay in one place, and it is absent in another place, because there is a form. Whenever there is a form, it cannot be all pervasive. So the all pervasive entity, what we call Brahman or self, we are talking the intrinsic nature of the listener. We are talking about the intrinsic nature of the spiritual seeker who is listening this Kaṭha Upaniṣad. Remember, our own nature is being presented by the Lord Yama. He says, even though this Atma, the self, is everywhere in the form of consciousness, but when we superimpose a body on that, for example, a male body or a female body, and we think ourselves, I am a beautiful woman, I am a fat woman, I am a big male, I am a tall man, I am a fair man, I am looking very beautiful, I am looking not so much in appearance, not so good in appearance. All these superimposed form are owned in one single body. When this all-pervasive Lord is superimposed in different names and forms like men, woman, dogs, birds, trees, stars, planets, 5 elements like space, fire, earth, water, and air, everything, anything, whatever you take in this life, in this universe, it has a name and form. That name and form is superimposed on this consciousness. When we take that name and form, which is limited, which is conditioned, it can move. Even though the consciousness, which is all pervasive, will not move, it will be stay. When we assume that consciousness in the form of a human body, or in the form of a dog body, or in the form of a star, it seems to be moving. Like the crystal is colorless by nature, the consciousness is motionless by nature, but when it appears in red in color by the presence of the hibiscus flower, similarly, the consciousness which appears in the form of a human body or a dog body or in the form of a star, it seems to be moving. Something which is motionless seems to be moving by the limiting adjuncts which are superimposed on this all-pervading entity. Even though the entity is not moving at any time, it is all pervasive. So there is no space to move at all. Everywhere it is there. That all pervasive entity, even though it is not moving, but when it appears as though in the form of male or female or dog or any other species in the world, it seems to be moving. Then I will say, I am going to UK. I am going to India. I am going to Bali. I am going to Singapore. How? Even though you are a formless entity, you are the ultimate truth, what we call Brahman, which is all pervasive. Right now, you appears in the form of a human being, and you say, even though I am Brahman, I am self, which is all pervasive, which is not a body, but it seems to be appearing in the form of a body, then I will say, not knowing, I am going to Bali, I am going to UK, I am going to France, I am going to Italy. How? Because of the movement of the body, you superimpose the movement of the body on the consciousness. Even though the consciousness is not moving at all, the movement of the body is being superimposed on the consciousness. I will give another example for the clean-cut clarification. It should be very clear. It should be crystal clear. The sentence. Upanishads don't want to make any contradictory statements for the listener. It's all in the part of understanding by the traditional teacher and the preparation of the listener. Everything will fall under place. There is no contradictory statements in any Vedas or any Vedantic statements. There is no contradiction at all. Now I will give another example. Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean has bordering countries like India is there. Tanzania will come. Kenya will come. Even South Africa may be coming. Of course, Reunion is coming. Madagascar is coming. Australia is coming. All are having the Indian Ocean as its border. And the Indian Ocean is motionless compared to its own water body. It stays back. It's there. But when a wave says that, I have traveled from Tanzania to India, even though the water is motionless, but in the form of a wave, it can travel from one place to another place. We know that wave is nothing without water. The intrinsic nature of the wave is nothing but water, but it appears in a form called wave. And the wave says that right now I am traveling from Tanzania to India. I am traveling from Australia to India through Indian Ocean. From the standpoint of water or ocean, there is no movement at all. But from the standpoint of the wave, there is a motion because wave is conditioned. Wave is a form. Wave is a temporary form which appears at the point of one time and it will end in another time. Similarly, asinaha duram prachati. By staying motionless, it travels far distance. It means that when it is assumed as though taking a human body, as though, the word is very important, it doesn't take any body, it will stay in the form of consciousness. We only assume that there is a body on the consciousness, which we are going to deny completely in the coming verses. then how can I understand there is no body at all? Because I am eating, I am breathing, I am sleeping, I am playing, I am always going to different countries, and you say that there is no body at all. I told you. Apparent reality, which is superimposed on the original reality. Body is an apparent reality. From the standpoint of the body, we have motions. From the standpoint of body, we have travelings. We will travel. From the standpoint of body, there is a birth and there is a death. But from the standpoint of ultimate reality, which is consciousness, there is no traveling, there is no birth, there is no death at all. For a verb, there is a birth and there is a death. For the water, there is no death and birth. It stays all the time in the form of water. Even it assume a form of a verb, that water form is not given up. The water is there all the way. While it is in the form of a verb, it is also water. Before appearing in the form of a verb, it doesn't give up the water form. The water is there all the way. Water became the verb. Water continued in the form of the wave, and the verb get resolved into the water itself. Similarly, the consciousness which appeared in the form of a body, the consciousness which continued in the form of a body, the consciousness which is also stay back while the body get resolved, while the body get distracted. Same entity is being referred here by asinaha. This motionless entity is traveling when it takes as though in the form of a human being or any other body. And it seems to be traveling here and there. If it is a bird, it will migrate from one country to another country, even though it is a self. It is the self. It is the Brahman. It is the consciousness which is all pervasive. It appears in the form of a bird and it will migrate to one place to another place. This is called asinaha duram brajati. Now come to the next statement. The same, another contradictory statement. What is the statement? We will see. Asinaha duram brajati. We already saw. Then shayano yati sarvataha. Shayanaha. To sleep, to lay down, to complete rest. This is called shayanaha. While sleeping, while taking rest, laying down, it goes everywhere. Same understand. A motionless entity which is all pervasive, which don't instinct, which don't have any kind of insist towards the body to do anything. Don't think that this consciousness is compelling you to do the crime, or this consciousness is compelling to do the noble acts. No way. That's all due to the mind. This consciousness is just like the presence of electricity. While the power, the electricity is there, the fan will rotate. The AC will give the proper air become the air conditioner. The fridge will make the things freeze or cool. The same electricity, if it has a presence in the TV, TV will show the news or anything amusing, The electricity is not compelling any instruments to do this type of work in this world. It is due to their setup, they work in different modes. If it appears through the fan rotates and give a cooling air or something, whatever it is. If it appears through the TV, it gives certain news, certain channels, etc., etc. The electricity is not compelling any instrument to work in this procedure. It's all due to their own setup. Similarly, each and everybody have a mindset which acquired from different births. This mindset will start to work when the consciousness is there. When this entity start to give the consciousness, the sentience towards the body, the mind will start to work. And if somebody have a nature of doing crime, they will involve in crime. If somebody have the nature of doing noble acts, they will involve in noble acts. There is no role for this consciousness in making somebody to do the noble acts or in making somebody to do the crime. Because this consciousness is not at all a compeller for the human beings or any other living beings. It's all our minds. Now come to this sentence. Shayanaha, while sleeping, getting into sleep, Yati sarvataha, everywhere it goes. How? When it compared to a living being, it sleeps, it wakes up, it goes to dream, it does different act. Each and every body will go through three different states. We know that. Awakened state, Jagrata Avastha in Sanskrit or Hindi, Jagrat. Dream state, Sopna Avastha. Deep sleep state, Sushupti Avastha. These three states are inevitable for each and every living being. Even the dogs used to see the dream while they are sleeping, they will move their legs or ears because of the dreams, whatever they see. Not only for human being, each and every living being in this world go through these three states. So when we compare from the standpoint of empirical reality, we are all subject to go through three different states. When we stay in the ultimate point of truth, when we see the reality from the ultimate standpoint, we are all pervasive. We are beyond all these three states. When it is conditioned through a name and form, when it is conditioned through a body, it goes through three different states. When it is not conditioned, when it is unconditional, unlimited, when it is all pervasive, it is everywhere at the same time. When it appears in the body, it seems to be going through three different states, and one state is deep sleep. Shayano yati sarvataha. While sleeping, it appears everywhere. It means that even though the body is sleeping, the locus, the base of the body, which is the consciousness, appears everywhere. While the body is going through one state called a deep sleep, but the intrinsic nature of the body, but the locus of the body, but the basis, the essence of the body, which is the consciousness, which is all pervasive at the same time. So we can agree, we can accept both different characteristics appears in the one same entity when we look through a limited adjuncts, as though when we see through the name and form or a body, it seems to be going through three different states. But when we see from the ultimate standpoint, It stays everywhere. It is traveling everywhere. It is all pervasive. The same meaning what I have explained when the first sentence was explaining, the same meaning is being told in a different way. The first sentence is Asinaha Duram Prachati. Two different qualities are existing in one same locus. How? When we look through a conditional adjunct, we see when we assume a name and form in the consciousness, that name and form have limitations. So it seems to be Duram Brajati, travels. The body used to travel even though the consciousness is all pervasive. Similarly, when the body go through the three different states, but the locus, the essence of the body, which is consciousness, at the same time, it is all pervasive. This is the meaning of these two sentences. And we will see more. Very interesting. See, Upanishad is talking about the nature of the listener. Don't miss the class at any point of time. Please, you can compromise everything in the world, but the traditional teaching, it never comes all your life. Once in your lifetime it happens. Know the value and the worth of the class. What Yama told to Nachiketas, please listen in every class. As the classes goes more, you will get clarity on this topic. Understand? As a beginner, you may be no, you may not be having the whole understanding, but don't miss the class. Okay, we will continue with the third and fourth line in the next class. Now we will go to the Mahamrutyunjaya Mantra Japa for the sake of the welfare of all living beings in the world. A big karma. Those Om Susti Prajabhya Paripalayandam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahisha Gobhramanebhya Shupamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kali Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasyashalini Deshoyam Kshoparahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma kaschit dukkhabad bhavet asatoma satgamaya tamasoma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Namaste, all of you. Iso, Fabio.